This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. This is our special Fight the Future Minute podcast. I'm Russ Hugo, and you're listening to coverage of minute 48 of The X-Files, Fight the Future. This minute begins at 47 minutes, and this is after we leave the field office, and then we cut back to that mysterious base out in the Texas desert, and then ends, of course, at 47:59. To discuss this minute, I'm joined by fellow X-Castee and scientific consultant to the X-Cast, Deana Ferreri. Hello again.
Hi, Russ.
One thing I'm going to start off with on this scene, if I may, is we have this field agent who is unusually helpful and friendly. And that's nice to see it mix it up a little bit. Yeah,
that's a good point. I'm trying to differentiate between field agents and, like, local law enforcement. Like, sometimes they get some pushback from, like, local law enforcement who feel like their territory is being encroached upon. But I'm trying to think of other field agents in other episodes, and I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I'm also just thinking of, like, FBI in general.
Okay.
Like, from the beginning, you had Terry O'Quinn's character, who's kind of an oddball and not super friendly, and not necessarily rude or hostile. And then you think of anybody we interact with usually in the FBI, unless they're pretty low level, like the guy who got killed in Tempest Fugit.
Oh, Pendrell?
Pendrell, thank you. Somebody like Pendrell or Hawley. That you've got this, friendly lower level folks. There's a lot of attitude. This guy, seems higher level, no attitude. He's not overly friendly either. He's just friendly, easygoing. I like his attitude.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he seemed to me like a guy who maybe he works a lot in the lab and he doesn't get to interact with people all that much, so he's really enjoying having these visitors to his lab and showing them things.
Yeah, and considering everyone else is always trying to hide any of these things, he's just good at spilling the beans.
Yeah.
He tells them where the fossils were found, and we cut to this very 90s tracking shot that lifts over the fence. We got the big 90s score, and very Spielbergian. And we see the domes out in the desert. And then we cut to that head scientist. Is it Bronschweig? I can't remember how to pronounce it.
Bronschweig.
Who goes down?
I think. I can spell it. I don't know if I can say it.
Hopefully the listeners won't hold us to it. And then lowers down into the depths to administer the vaccine. What are your thoughts about this very, auspicious transition?
Yeah, so I have a couple things. One is this, like, full-on hardcore biosafety suit this guy is wearing. Maybe that's what Scully should have been wearing when she was doing the autopsy.
Amen.
We don't see actually what's in the box that the crane is carrying, but, it's this body-shaped box. It looks to be enclosed in glass. It's got the oxygen tanks on the side, and we're going to see that later. We're going to see Scully inside one of those later. Spoiler alert. But so this is like the first time we see one of those.
I wonder where they're going to take it. If the idea is the body that's already this far, they're going to be taking it to Antarctica as well. I guess that's the assumption, and deliver it to the ship. But why would they put the vaccine in it now? Because it sounds like there was all the talk they don't want to use it because they don't want to alert the people now. Why wouldn't they just do the vaccine and then, if it ends up working, head down there and administer it to one of the bodies there? So why would they do it here and then put it in the thing? It's not really clear why they need to transport it right now in that box.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I was wondering. I was wondering that too, but I'm trying to remember which body is in that box. Is that just another one they're going to test the vaccine on? It's not the one It's not one of the ones from the cave.
Okay, my thought is that box is empty. But maybe it's not.
Oh, because we don't see. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe it's empty and they're going to use that to transport.
That was my thought.
The body.
Yes.
That makes sense.
But I could be wrong. Because if you look in it, it looks empty. I mean, I can't see all the way. I'm watching it here again. You can't see it perfectly. But the box does look empty, as far as I can tell. Unless it's like got a deeper edge than before. So,
yeah. Okay, that does make more sense. That does make more sense because after they bring the box in, then Bronschweig is going to go basically check on the body and put the vaccine in it, and then I guess they're going to put it in the box. I guess that's the plan.
And I don't know why, but okay.
Yeah, I still not really making sense of that, but
I mean, maybe eventually they'll want to get rid of the body, but other than that, it seems like you just want to kind of keep it where it's at for a while. But because they got that pretty nice swanky set up there, the little pavilion down below the party palace.
Yeah, they've really constructed quite an elaborate laboratory in, a couple days underneath this like bubble tent. It's impressive.
Yeah, but boy, you can't close down the X-Files. There are limits.
It's impossible.
To the amount of bribing that can happen. Okay. So any final thoughts, lowers down into the setup before we move on? Anything else about this scene?
Have we seen Bronschweig ever before? Or do we only see him in the movie? I didn't remember him.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I assume he's one of the scientists working with the syndicate, but yeah, I was wondering if we had seen him before.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, I think it's just in Fight the Future. Yes. Maybe I missed this here, but this is according to the X-Files wiki. Dr. Ben Bronschweig, or Bronschweig, I don't know whatever the correct thing is here, was a FEMA scientist involved in an outbreak of purity, which took place in Blackwood County, North Texas. So, clarify here the county, and that wasn't clear to me as whether he was specifically with FEMA or if he was with the syndicate or both. So this is helpful to clarify that.
Okay.
My assumption is that the people down in Antarctica aren't affiliated with FEMA, and they're just syndicate members, so it's hard to find the line there. But we're learning. This is good. All right, so that wraps up our latest Fight the Future Minute. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you, Deana. Again, you'll be back for the next minute, and it gets scary. Until our next minute, remember as always, trust no one.
Previously on the We Made This Network. By projection light.
Dickinson also brings the audience's attention to a then unknown Audrey, who shines like a bright, pure beacon the whole film. It's quite amazing to think that only a year after this film, she would be cast in the film that would catapult her to superstardom and garner her an Oscar win. But it's also not difficult to believe. Her performance is so unaffected, as if she's living the part of Nora, which, as I've said, she almost had already. And it's also wonderful to see her dance, particularly during the audition scene towards the start of the film, where she flits and spins like an angel. It made me think of how she had danced during the war for audiences who were not allowed to clap due to the prohibition of public gatherings, but how she brought joy to those people as she brings joy to everyone who's watching this film every time she dances.
Don't say the C word.
Sex, drugs and rock and roll isn't a cliche. I've seen it all. There's a unique group of groupies that feel the need to collect, if that's the right term to use, like all of the band members, as in to sleep with all the band members and all of the crew.
Oh, wow. So they kind of, do they work their way from the top down, or do they work their way from the bottom up?
Yeah, get to whoever they can first. And it would always be me and one of the band members that they'd never get. And I was quite proud of that. I was like, yeah, I'm the one that you don't know about. So like, you can never brag. I'm not a bragging right.
That's pretty admirable. And is there a particular reason why you're not going to shag the groupies?
At the time, I was a virgin and I didn't want my first time to be with just some random lady on the road.
Bloody hell, that really is admirable. I think I'd have thrown my virginity at anybody. to be honest with you.
It got to the point a few years on, like, I was like, I'm thinking about it now. But no.
The Time Is Now, a Millennium podcast.
The way that he's offered that job, I think he's done that before. It's not out of character for him to go into situations like that. I know he's done a bit more, with a bit more levity earlier in the season in Goodbye Charlie, where he goes to speak to the social worker and he lays off all of his problems, which is a great scene in that episode.
Yeah, it's very hard to have that sort of levity when you're dealing with literal Nazis, to be fair.
Well, it's a slightly different take on the same kind of.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether the Mel Brooks sequence of that would probably be something to behold.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.